Hey guys, welcome to the basement. It's Friday. It's time to start partying. Big weekend ahead. Can't wait. I don't know what you guys are doing. Doing a lot of family stuff. I'm gonna catch up on the DVR. I know how to live a regular rock star lifestyle. I'm gonna tell you my favorite quarterback in the 2023 NFL draft. I'm gonna tell you the team whose upcoming season I wish I could just fast forward through to get to the end to see what happens. I don't need to see the movie again. I've seen it before. And what video game should be made into a movie? We asked you. Tetris is coming out. Mario Brothers is coming out. Pick any video game now, at your youth, before you were born, and what major motion picture should be made based on it. You have thoughts, and so do I. It's the basement. It's what I love. It's what I hate, and what is hilarious. Come on now. I love Anthony Richardson from Florida. I love it. I love him. I don't like him. I don't respect him. I love him. I love all of him. All the things that he stands for. And I love the team that is going to draft him this year. That's really what I love. I love that some team in some war room with some owner and GM and coach, they're going to say, let's do it. Ready? You son of a bitch. And they're going to go like that, like Carl Weathers and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and they're going to turn in their card to the draft. And it's going to say Anthony Richardson, quarterback, Florida. And it is going to be scary for that team, because he is a massive, incredible athlete. And I don't know if he's ever going to be a great quarterback. I don't know. But I know he could be. And I know if he is, look the hell out. Look the hell out. You're going to have a significantly more talented Cam Newton. You are. He's faster. He jumps higher. He's a better athlete. He's just as big, more or less. And my God, it would be exciting. That's what I love. You know, this quarterback class is so great this year mostly because last year's was just terrible. And as someone who covers the NFL every single day, you got to hype up those quarterbacks in the draft. And man, we did work on that. Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett, and maybe they'll both end up Hall of Famers. But it was slow going there. Slow going. This year's great. You got these household names. You got Stroud, and you got Young, and then you got this wild card in Levis, and then you just got this incredible machine called Anthony Richardson. He has his pro day yesterday. I don't know if you're into the pro days or not. Kind of like your own personal combine. He didn't have to do any of that running or jumping or stuff because he already broke records at the actual combine. He threw. He looked great. Most quarterbacks do. Very difficult to look bad at your pro day, although it has happened. He hit the passes. He threw one so high he hit the ceiling. He ended up by doing a backflip. He threw one 70-plus yards. It is just absolutely pure athlete, and it's so great. Now, college tape is not great. I've watched him in college. I watched him against Will Levis in college. They both looked really shaky. You wouldn't like, man, I don't want to take a top 10 pick on those. I don't know if I want to take a top 3 round pick on those guys. They don't look great. Project City. But, I just love this as a team that's not going to be able to resist. Just one of those teams that just is the crazy team, and they say, we fall in love with this guy, with his athleticism, and apparently really cool personality, really sharp guy too. We love him. We know that there's some things about his presence in the pocket or his accuracy. I don't care. We're going to go to work on this guy, and we're going to shock the world, and we're going to take Anthony Richardson from Florida. It's just the kind of thing where you have to take the sugar. You can't resist the sugar. You know it's not good for you. You know, maybe you should go with something like the meat and potatoes of one of these more proven guys, something like Stroud, but you just can't resist. I got to take that sugar, that sweet, raw athleticism sugar. It's great. It's very exciting because someone's going to be shocked. We don't know who's going to be. If Carolina somehow does something nuclear and decides to go with him as skewing the 2 more proven guys, bring the house down in Kansas City at the draft. Or if it's somebody like Indianapolis or it's Houston, just way up there. Either way, it's going to be so exciting because I really think that's going to be the wow pick of the draft. Stroud and Young are really solid and they look good, and maybe they'll be superstars too. But everyone wants to know where Richardson's going to go because he's the 10. He's the 6-foot blonde. He turns everybody's head. Oh my God, look at this guy. It's going to be great. Would you want your team to do it? It's scary. It's really scary because it could be a disaster. I mean, really, it could be. He could just show up completely lost, showed some of the same things he did in high-level play in Florida where it's just, I don't know, I'm not into it. It's just a special kind of player around the draft right now where tape bad, test good, potential good. There's these phrases that seduce the teams. Because you try to outsmart the draft. Sometimes when you're way up top, you say, I can make a really solid pick that I don't think is going to be a bust. And I think that's a good, prudent thing to do. And they get seduced. They get seduced by things like high ceiling, untapped potential, no limit. through the roof. They love that stuff. And it really is a seduction because you start to see, well, we could take the meat and potatoes guy and maybe you can turn him into a guy who makes the Pro Bowl here and there. What are we doing? Let's look around the league right now. The quarterbacks have never been better. They've never been more talented. We look around and we see Mahomes and Allen and Burrow and Lamar. And what are we going to do? How are we going to compete with a talent like Justin Herbert? We got to get something special. Let's really, really reach. And so they look at somebody like CJ Stroud, who looks really good and checks so many boxes and should just definitely be a guy you draft. And you're just like, not enough. We need more. You need more? Really? Yes, we need more. It's not enough for us to hit a double. It's not enough for us to hit a triple. It's not enough for us to hit a home run. We need to hit it out of the stadium and hit a grand slam in the bottom of the ninth of the World Series Game 7. That's what we're looking for. It's those big swing teams. And the Carolina thing at number 1 is interesting because you have Frank Reich, who seems old school, pragmatic, solid, give me a good pocket quarterback and I will work around with him and I'll make it happen. And I was sitting there in the sidelines of the Super Bowl when Nick Foles won a Super Bowl for the Eagles and when I was part of the staff. You have that. But then you have the owner, David Tepper, who's completely self-made billionaire who came by betting on himself and taking risks and has the brass cojones on his desk in a jar for real. Does that sound like a guy who's like, yeah, let's take something solid? I don't know. Why would you get into the game? He was doing whatever he was doing, making his billions, said, I want to get into ownership. I want to get into NFL ownership. He cracked into that club. Do you want to come in here and make conservative moves? Or even sort of bold moves? No, like look what he's done since he's gotten there. He hired Matt Rule out of college, which was a bold move, totally didn't work. Brought in Baker Mayfield, bold move, totally didn't work. They've not been working. So maybe do you double down and say, let's just get on base. Let's just hit it on the fairway, for God's sake. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be the Panthers at number 1, but somebody's going to take Anthony Richardson. Someone's going to go for the unicorn. Someone's going to try to saddle that thing and ride it. I cannot wait to watch it. If I was a diehard fan of a team, I don't think I would want my team to do it. I'm not saying you should, but from where I'm standing, that's the number 1 pick in the draft. Not the number 1 overall in terms of the selections. That is the number 1 most interesting. That is the number 1 most radical, wherever it goes. I think Will Levis is going to take a ride down the board. I think Anthony Richardson will not get past 10 at the very least, and whoever takes him is going to say, whew, put the roller coaster brace on, hands and vehicles inside the car at all times, hands and legs inside the vehicle. If you got heart problems, if you might be pregnant, you do not ride the Anthony Richardson ride. But here we go, and they start. I can't wait. That's the number 1 pick that I look for. Young, Stroud, Levis, great. It's Richardson, and I'm already in love with him, and the team is going to draft him. Let's get, though, to what I hate. Come on. Was asked this morning on the Good Morning Football program, so let's look ahead 6 months from now when the Dallas Cowboys season starts. Do we think that Mike McCarthy can help get Dak Prescott over the hump and the two of them can blah, 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 blah? And I start to hear the question and I tune out. I go into this haze where my vision gets blurry and there's a harp playing and I'm just, Cowboys talk. I hate that we can't just fast forward through this Cowboys season. And I don't mean just to get it over with and not watch it. I just want to get to the end. I just want to get to the end. That's it. I know how the regular season's going to go. I know. I knew this year, I knew last year, and I know for the coming year. The Dallas Cowboys are going to start out pretty good. They're going to start out hot. They're going to get some attention, and it's going to be a Tony Pollard thing, and whoever they drafted, maybe they bring somebody else in. Micah's good. Dak's playing well. CeeDee's becoming a star. And oh my God, they're 4-1. And then they're going to have an injury or two, and they're going to have a little bit of a skid, and then they're going to get to, 6-3, and then they're going to be, oh no, they're 9-6, and they're having some issues. But then at the end of the season, they're kind of putting it back together. And look at that. The Cowboys finished 11-6, and what a good regular season. Second in the NFC East, but they're in the playoffs. And then they either lose the wild card or win it against an inferior opponent and then lose in the divisional. That's the season. It's a good season. You won double-digit games. You won a playoff game, or at least you got to one. Anybody else, you sign that up, that's a great season. That just feels like your standard issue Cowboys season. Like I always say, you just come with the cafeteria tray. They give you the slop. They put it in your bowl, and you walk on to the next one. And they just do that every single year. And if that was the ambition of the franchise, that's fine. And you win games, and you pay guys, and you pay girls, and you do whatever you need to do, and you sell jerseys, and that's great. And when everybody goes on vacation, we'll come back for training camp. But there's this aura around them, this alleged aura of the banners that hang, and we're about championship, and Mr. Jones wants a Super Bowl, and Dak Prescott's going to bring a Super Bowl. Is he? Just give me to the end of the season. Let me see if you can win 0 or 1 playoff games, or really just shock the world and even win 2 and get to a title game, or really turn back the clock and makes everybody's heads explodes and actually get to the Super Bowl. I would really like it. But for right now, I just can't sit around and say, oh yeah, this is going to be the different Cowboys season. Does anybody, including Cowboys fans, do you think, I think we're about to do something special this next season? Or do you think, good team, not great, kind of probably like always? Because I look at McCarthy and Dak as very similar. They're respected guys who've put in their time now, who are becoming veterans, who are good, objectively, but not great, and probably never gonna be great. You know, there's no 8th year jump for quarterbacks. It doesn't you put in your first 7 seasons, then you look for that classic 8th year jump. That's not a thing. You become who you are. And as a coach and as a quarterback, you become who you are. And as I always say, when someone tells you who they are over and over and over again, believe them. That's the Cowboys. Dak's pretty good. Sometimes very good. Mike McCarthy, a pretty good coach. I think that's it. There's a limit to them, and I think we've seen it. They're not young anymore in their careers. We've seen a lot of football from Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott. And I just look at the Cowboys seasons at this point, there's just very little variety. They're like Fast and the Furious movies. If you're got to go quick and you got to watch one of those movies in 25 minutes, you just fast forward to the end. And like, how does Vin Diesel blow up the car? Or how does Michelle Rodriguez do this? The middle of it is just, I get it. They're dressed in tight clothes and they're in adventures and there's some fights and there's you see the same stuff. Just tell me how it ends. That's all I want to see. That's all I want to see. It's the same thing over and over. And people get triggered by that. So I said something to that effect this morning, and then I get this tweet by a guy who's watching Good Morning Football, which I'm thankful for and I really respect. And he tweets, this is Ricky. Ricky, I mean it. I respect you. Thank you. He says, watching Good Morning Football and hearing Kyle Brandt talk about the Cowboys just reminds me of how big of a tool he is. Yeah, Ricky. All right, so he insults me, and he said what I was saying this morning, which is similar to what I just said, means me a tool. And I would just say, what did I say that it was wrong? What did I say? Everything I said is inaccurate. I'm not saying they suck. I'm not saying they're a waste of time. I'm saying they're all very good. They're just never great. They haven't been great for 27 years. I'm tired of waiting. In that period, then the period in which they have not been to a title game, the Jaguars have been to multiple title games. The Bears have been to title games. I could keep going. Like, teams that are supposed to be terrible have gotten to multiple. The Bears were in a title game with Jay Cutler, guys. Just random example of a team that's gotten farther over the last quarter century than the Dallas Cowboys, who've had some excellent players. So, if this is really a meritocracy, and in media you talk about the teams that earn it and that are the best, then you should never talk about the Cowboys. I mean, occasionally, I guess, because they win some games, but there's a long line of teams that are more accomplished and more successful in recent history that have nothing to do with Emmitt Smith and Troy Aikman that should be filling that airtime. So I'm talking about the Cowboys now. I get it, because it came up organically. I'm not going out of my way to do it. I was asked, and we're going to say, listen, I wish I could just fast forward. Remember when we used to get TiVo and you would go, boop, 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 and it would do that pitch every time? I just want to go right to January with the Cowboys. It's not interesting to me if they start 4-1 next year. It's not interesting if they start 0-2. It's just, they'll figure it out. They're not going to have a terrible season next year. There's no way. They'll be solid. Who cares except for the ending? Who cares? Do you even care? I hope it's a great ending. It'd be a nice variety, but it's usually the same one. Let's get to what's hilarious. Talk about endings. All right. You know what's hilarious? I saw that there was a Tetris movie coming out a little ways back. And I actually thought, I assumed, maybe you did too, that it was going to be about a real life scenario where there's Tetris, where it's going to be this Michael Bay concoction where blocks from space are falling out of the sky and we must arrange them in such a way to save the planet, and Mark Wahlberg is there somehow, and Jessica Chastain shows up. I don't know who the hell's in the cast, but I thought it was going to be a real life scenario of Tetris, and maybe there's be tanks that would have to like shoot the pieces so as to rotate them in the sky so they land properly. If you think that's ridiculous, they actually did that with Battleship. They did a Battleship real game where like aliens were shooting pegs into battleships and aircraft carriers, and like Rihanna was in it. It was a very, very strange movie. So don't tell me they're not capable of making a real Tetris movie. Unfortunately, they're not doing it because they the movie is actually based on the origin story of the game, and it's a Soviet Union kind of Cold War story, and we had to take it from them. But we're not going to let that slow us down, because Tetris is a movie that's coming out. And look at this. Look what I have. I'm going to try to set the tone here. My son got a Tetris thing in his like stocking stuffer this last particular Christmas, and so he's learning how to do it. And Tetris, the stuff of legends. There we go. And you go dit 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 dit. You know Tetris. So I play this thing occasionally, and I'm like, will they really make a movie out of it? No way. It's not. It's a Cold War thing. But there is a Nintendo movie coming out that is about Super Mario Brothers, and that's next week. So the question remains, if Tetris is coming out, even though if it's not about the game, at least the game taking place in real life, and Super Mario Brothers movie is coming out, what is the video game movie that would be like, oh, why aren't they making this? I have so many thoughts on this. I've said this for a long time, and I'll just toss some out. Maybe you know them, maybe you don't. There's a video game called Jackal on the original Nintendo 8-bit, in which they're like, well, we made games about airplanes and spaceships and tanks and boats. I really made a game about Jeeps, like military Jeeps. Let's drive Jeeps around and put a gun on the back. It was an awesome idea. Jackal was a great game. I'd watch the Jackal movie. Another really simple one, elevator action. It's a guy in a shopping mall in a parking garage or something with just elevators everywhere. It's not even elevators. Sometimes there were elevators, sometimes there were escalators. And we have a gun and a trench coat, just bam, just blast people. Elevator action. Great, great name. You can make a simple movie out of it. Not hard to shoot, not hard to cast. Put Gyllenhaal in it and we'll just crush it. But more importantly, I asked you guys, what is the video game that you're like, where's the movie? Where is it? Get in here. Let me see what you got. You always had ideas. I knew you would. First guy up, Rob Edgetol. And this is perfect, Rob. Why didn't I think of this? I'm looking at the second stage of the video game called Contra from 1987. And this game just goes up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A, start. You might even go with that for the actual name of the movie. Up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A, start. And I think you do it as a long-term franchise that has 30 different installments. 30 lives, if you will. Isn't it funny that in Contra, it wasn't enough that you have these guys, shirtless commandos blasting machine guns at aliens. When they jump, they do a tuck flip every time they jump. It's like so much energy and testosterone and entertainment in that. They would flip. That must be exhausting. The Contra movie goes without saying. You could do it with Dwayne Johnson and Channing Tatum. It'd probably be unwatchable, but at least they would make one. Contra, for sure. Sure. Murph, there you go. Elevator action. Criminally underrated. I'm sure there's a phone game version of it or something online. If you're bored, see if there's an elevator action game. Very simple. Kind of satisfying to go up and down in the elevators. I love that game. Easy movie. Next. What else you got? All right, well, T. Coley right here says this is the obvious. Why is there not a Zelda movie? I have gone on the rampage on this for years. 1986, the Zelda video game came out in the gold cartridge for Nintendo. For years and years and years and years, Nintendo was out of the movie game for reasons I understand, but that time is over. Once Sonic started printing money for the Sega Corporation, Zelda's like, we're getting the hell in this thing. They're about to release the Super Mario movie. Make the Zelda movie, you cowards. Do it. Do it. Give me Chalamet as Link. Give me Sydney Sweeney as Zelda. And give me, who can be Ganondorf? Idris Elba? Is he too old? I don't know. Just give me somebody in that role, whoop some ass, that's it. Candles, boomerangs, swords, make the movie. It's okay if Link speaks, no one cares, it's all right. Make the movie, that will be massive. All right, this guy, running with scissors. He says, I've got a great idea for Van Damme comeback vehicle. Oh, who says Van Damme needs a comeback? Did he ever leave? He says, bonus, we get to see him knock out a bull. What we're looking at is, I think, a game called Karate Champ. It's either that or some sort of Olympic manifestation of karate. All the karate video games came out in the late 80s. You know, it's still post-Ralph Macchio karate boom. What's interesting about Van Damme being in a Karate Champ movie is it's the game he actually plays in Bloodsport, his character Frank Dukes. And we're watching someone in a white gi jump kick someone in a red gi and get 500 points. I'm in for a Karate Champ movie, absolutely. They've already done Mortal Kombat, they've already done Street Fighter. What else? What else could possibly come from the... Oh, this is a good idea. Scott says, this game was tough, but would love to see it as a movie. He's looking at the Lion King video game. Scott, I hate to ruin the magic for you. There already is a major motion picture called The Lion King. There's actually a few of them. You know what they should do, though? They should make a movie called GoldenEye with the James Bond. And I don't know who you cast as James Bond, but it was a great video game, and I think would translate great also as well to a movie. That'd be awesome. Lion King the movie. Take that idea and run with it. Next, Monica. Should have been Centipede and Paperboy, and you know it. Centipede is a kind of annoying alien movie, maybe, sure. Would have been awesome when the Centipede video game was actually out if Ridley Scott made it. It's hard for me to even read Paperboy because the game was so difficult, be it on the arcade with the actual handlebars or even at home on Nintendo. It was so difficult to play. Great concept. I'm still getting hit by a cat or going down a manhole or running over a cone. That game sucks. So you can make some sort of suburban tale about it, but fine. Cyborg Allen has a much better idea. He wants to go Mega Man. Mega Man was awesome. I don't know why it wasn't a bigger thing in terms of the movies or anything or culture. Why isn't there a Mega Man cartoon movie? Mega Man's this cool little blue guy, and his arm has been kind of like transformed or made into a gun. It's a little bit like Buzz Lightyear, except he doesn't have to reach over and push the button like Buzz does. And all his villains were like Quick Man and Speed Man and Bomb Man. Like, it was awesome. Absolutely great. I should play the Mega Man games over. Mega Man movie, without a doubt. Next. Jay Sequela. Oh, that's interesting. Jay Sequela calling for an Oregon Trail movie, but directed by Darren Aronofsky, which would be dark and maybe sadistic, and I like it. Aronofsky, of course, does movies about heroin and addiction, and did the Black Swan, and just always like skin-crawling, creepy movies. So if you don't want his treatment on smallpox or dysentery or stopping to buy buckshot, look, the hunting scene alone would be great. You just go out there and start blasting. You go out in Oregon Trail with your musket and your pellets, and you would be like, oh, great luck. You've shot 6,000 pounds of meat. You can only carry 60 back to the trailer, though. So you would leave these carcasses all over. And if you could hit that stupid little rabbit that was going about 300 miles an hour and you could just time it, bam, for 1 pound of meat, it was worth it. Oregon Trail by Aronofsky would be sick. And there'd be amputation scenes and infection scenes. But I'm still here for it. It's fine. What else? Anything else? Blazing KC says Outrun. This is good. He goes on and says Fast Car, a guy and a girl, 80s kitsch, 90 minutes of popcorn action. This is awesome. I would say Outrun was a little bit of an enhancement, a next step over Rad Racer. And you would just drive and you'd race guys on the beach and there's palm trees. And if I remember, if you crashed the Ferrari, I think the blonde woman in the passenger seat would like kind of turn over and point her finger at you. Like she was like, nice driving, idiot. So there was some reality in there as well. That'd be great. 80s kitsch. I don't know who would be in that. I already said Channing Tatum. I put him in all these movies. Maybe it would be one of the one of the Chris Hemsworth trying to be funny like he does sometimes and does so well. Maybe Chris Hemsworth. Next, and we'll do one last one. Bill Sy. Oh, here we go. Leisure Suit Larry by either Paul Verhoeven or Paul Schrader. Leisure Suit Larry was like this guy in a leisure suit who was like into the ladies and the nightlife and the gentlemen's clubs. And it was, back in the day, it was considered just wild that there was dirty things going on in video games. And Paul Verhoeven, who loves violence in his movie, like head-turning, stomach-churning violence, that would be an interesting take. I don't know, I see Paul Thomas Anderson doing an incredible Leisure Suit Larry film. Joaquin Phoenix as Leisure Suit Larry, and the Oscar goes to. That's great. Bill Sy, I like it. That would be a hard R rating on Leisure Suit Larry, and an A+ rating on your submissions, as always. Thank you, guys. If any of those get made ever, we can run this back and be like, you know what? That guy said the Contra movie. That guy backed me up on elevator action. Watch movies this weekend, guys. Are you getting into it? I might try to watch John Wick this weekend. I still haven't even seen Avatar. I'm becoming tragically on a hit, but I got to catch up on Mandalorian. I haven't caught up yet on The Last of Us. And now we got Succession running. So what am I to do? I don't have the time. Plus, I have to be in the basement every day talking to you guys. Let's end the show. I'm going to throw a dart. Go to the sky cam. Oh, wait, I got to throw the dart first. Hold on. Sky cam. This will start the weekend, my friends. I bet my life right now I get a 17. I will bet my life this is going to be a 17. Yeah, like I told you, 4. 4. What is topic number 4 to end the week? What's your favorite Super Bowl of all time? Oh, that's a good question. I can tell you the worst. My least favorite ever was about 6-7 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. Rams Patriots. I was at that one. Jared Goff versus Tom Brady. That game sucked. 13-3. The Patriots beat the Rams. The wizard boy, Sean McVay, comes up with nothing on offense. Todd Gurley is washed right in front of our eyes. Jared Goff gets about that big on the big stage, and that was it. That was my least favorite. I think when I was a kid, it was Super Bowl 20, Bears over Patriots. For a long time, it was the ending of 1994. Steve Young, Niners, beat Stan Humphries' Chargers, even though it was a terrible Super Bowl. I'd love that Niners team so much. But I would go recent history. I was in Minnesota for the one I talked about earlier in the show, Nick Foles versus Tom Brady, Eagles versus Patriots. Tom Brady breaks all the Super Bowl passing records. He's got 500 yards, this amazing performance from the most accomplished player in NFL history, and he loses to Nick Foles, the guy who got cut by Jeff Fisher on Hard Knocks. Explain it. Philly special, Brandon Graham gets the strip. It's just an amazing, amazing, amazing night. Justin Timberlake was a halftime show. He was fine. But the game was just so good, so exciting, so entertaining. Alshon Jeffrey turned into Jerry Rice that game. All these unlikely heroes. It was the weird game where Malcolm Butler didn't play for the Patriots. Kind of just got benched, coach's decision, and no one knew why. Mystery inside that. Unlikely heroes. Trey Burton throws a touchdown pass to Nick Foles. Great game. Just great, great, great game. That's it. And a great week. Guys, I love you. I cannot tell you enough. Thank you so much for watching, subscribing, sharing, reviewing, linking, tweeting, posting, whatever it is you do. It lets me do what I do, and I appreciate that you do it with us. In the meantime, enjoy the weekend. Be safe. Have drinks. Be safe. Hug your loved ones. Watch your movies. Exit through the garage. Close the door on your way out. Thanks, guys.